What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video on the Texas Rangers report. The Rangers have just announced that Josh Jung will start the year at AAA unless he has like a crazy spring training. We all knew that this was going to happen. We all knew that he was either going to start at AAA or AA. The Rangers are saying that if he has a good spring training, he might start in the majors. It's probably not going to happen. So with the Elvis trade, we all know that we need a third baseman. So I'm going to break down a list of 5 third basemen that the Rangers could either trade for or sign. And to be personally honest, I'm glad that the Rangers trade Elvis. He wasn't going to start at shortstop on the team, and I didn't want him to start at third base, mainly because I don't think he'd be a good third baseman. He doesn't have a lot of power. And I've been reading a lot of articles on third baseman the Rangers target, and a lot of them have said Jake Lamb. He is not on this list. I don't want the Rangers to target Jake Lamb. So without further ado, let me get straight into it. So the first third baseman I want the Rangers to target, I mean, not really, but Renato Nunez. I've talked about him in some previous videos. I was higher on him earlier in the offseason. First off, he's a big power bat. He's a right-handed power bat. The Rangers need that, right? But one of my fans pointed out he's almost just like Odor with the strikeout numbers. And then if you look more into the advanced stats, he's not the best hitter. And that's what you'd be buying with Renato Nunez is the bat. And I honestly don't think he could play the third base position at the major league level. So it's almost like, why are you signing him? One of the main things that brought me to Renato Nunez was his club control. If you sign Nunez, you would have club control of him for a while, which I thought was attractive. And yes, you have Josh Jung, but it's always good to have depth. So if you brought up Jung, you can move Nunez over the first base or left field, where he could platoon with Willie Calhoun at DH. However, I just don't think that Nunez can play the third base position at the major league level. And once you dig into the advanced stats for Nunez with his bat, I don't think that this is worth the investment for third base. Now moving on to the second third baseman is Mikhail Franco. I talked about him in another video for third basemen the Rangers should target. And Mikhail Franco, he had a bunch of hype whenever he was a prospect, hasn't really lived up to that hype. And he had a solid year with the Royals last season, but it's just like, what does he do well? He's not really a power hitter. He's not really a defensive player. He can't run the base paths. So if the Rangers were to sign him, they'd just be getting an average third baseman. I mean, he's only 28 years old. He doesn't have team control. If they signed him, I wouldn't be disappointed. It'd just be like, oh, okay, we signed Mikhail Franco. But one of the things I'm looking at with these players is obviously Josh Jung is going to get called up. They're not going to be starting anymore. And Mikhail Franco is not versatile. He can't play any other position. So once Josh Jung is up, we'd have to designate Mikhail or trade him. One thing I'm looking for in these players is, can they play another position once Josh Jung is up? And for Mikhail Franco, that's no. So right off the bat, he's not one of my top guys, but if we sign Mikhail, I wouldn't be too mad. Number 3 on this list is Matt Carpenter, the former third baseman for the St. Louis Cardinals. He's obviously not going to be starting this year because they traded for Nolan Arenado. He's had 2 down years back-to-back after he had that massive 2018 season. I did a trade video with Rougned Odor, and the Rangers got Matt Carpenter. This all depends on if the St. Louis Cardinals want a second baseman. If they do, they can trade for Rougned Odor. They can drop off a little salary with Matt Carpenter, because I don't know how much of a role Matt Carpenter will have. He only has 1 year left on his deal, and then the Rangers can acquire him, and his salary will be off the books. He's left-handed bat. He'd be a good veteran presence. I think he's a little bit versatile, even though he's only a third baseman. I think he can play first and a little bit of second, so it could be a sneaky pickup. He's not the best player defensively or offensively at this point, but at the same time, we'd be getting rid of Odor. And Matt Carpenter may be a better player than Odor, and he is more versatile, and he'd be a free agent at the end of the year. However, if the Rangers had to kick in some money, then we may not save money, but it all depends. So if we got Matt Carpenter and an Odor trade, I would probably be happy for that. And also, with Matt Carpenter, you could probably just designate him for assignment whenever Josh Jung gets called up or something like that. Or you keep him on the bench. You never know. That gets me to another point, a Rougned Odor trade. I think that the Rangers are either going to try to trade Odor in spring training, or they're going to designate him for assignments, because they told him to prepare for a utility role. But like, how is Odor going to play third base or shortstop when all he's ever done is play second base? And they're not going to keep Odor, in my opinion, on the roster to only play the second base position off the bench. So I'm going to make a Rougned Odor trade video before spring training, just to list off some possibilities that the Rangers might think about. And if none of those work, they might just designate him for assignment and then sign a cheaper super utility guy. The fourth third baseman on this list is Jedd Gyorko. I talked about him before. Defensively, I don't know how well he plays the third base position at this level or at his wise age. However, he's a little versatile. He plays a little third, a little first, but I think the bat is still strong. He hits lefties well, and he's a guy that if he doesn't get a contract by spring training, he may be willing to take a small offer from the Rangers, because right now the Rangers third base position does not attract people, because they know that whenever the All-Star break comes, they're going to be replaced by Josh Jung. So that's why I'm looking at that versatile aspect, because if you have versatility, you may not be designated, because these people have families and they don't always want to be like designated for assignment or traded. And they all know that Josh Jung is the future. So if they have a little bit of versatility, that might help out in the end. But overall, Jedd Gyorko doesn't have that much versatility. But this is like Mikhail Franco. If we signed him, it's like, okay, cool, we got a better third baseman than Elvis, you know? But this brings me to the fifth player on this list. This guy is definitely controversial, but he'd bring good versatility to the lineup, and he'd give Chris Woodward a bunch of options. So with the fifth third baseman on this list is Marvin Gonzalez. We all know he was part of the Astros scandal in 2017. He raked, but in 2017 they also cheated. However, Marvin Gonzalez plays all over the field. Third, short, second, anywhere in the outfield besides pitcher or catcher. He's a switch hitter, so you have Leody, you have Marvin Gonzalez. That's a lot of options for Chris Woodward to choose whenever he's creating his lineup every day. Whenever Josh Jung gets called up, you don't have to designate Marvin Gonzalez for assignment, or you don't have to trade him right away. However, if you do want to trade Marvin Gonzalez, a lot of contending clubs like super utility guys off the bench, so he could be the best trade chip on this list, because Renato Nunez, like, sure, they play other positions, but Nunez, Franco, Carpenter, Gyorko, they aren't super utility guys. They know how to play other positions, but Marvin Gonzalez knows and plays them better. Then if you call up Josh Jung, you move Marvin Gonzalez to the bench. You have Charlie Culberson, who's also another super utility player, and maybe even Delano DeShields. That just looks like the Rangers' model of what they like to do, because they like to mix and match things up, and they like speed off the bench, as they were, I think, second in stolen bases last year. So Marvin Gonzalez would be a signing I like. However, I know the Blue Jays are interested in him. However, he would be able to start for the Rangers at third, although on the Blue Jays, he would have a bench role. So those are my options. I'd like to see what you guys think the Rangers should do at third base, or should they just go ahead and start Josh Jung at third base? I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. And with that being said, I will see you all in the next one. Peace.